Hello and welcome to another Renewed Vision webinar. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Michael Seal and I work at Renewed Vision as the Director of Customer Support. And part of my job is helping people just like you every single day get the most out of the product that they pay for. But beyond my job at Renewed Vision, I actually work in church production myself. I, in fact, have worked in church production in some capacity for the better part of the last 15 years. I've worked in small churches, medium churches, large churches, parachurches, organization, and corporate events all over the United States. But what I am most passionate about is the local church. And my favorite part of my job is helping people like you discover how they can use ProPresenter to better serve their needs at their church. And so over the course of the next 45 minutes, we're going to be diving into a topic that I believe is very important. And that topic is called building your service in minutes, not hours. We're going to be focusing on how do we be the most efficient with our time in ProPresenter? How can we build repeatable systems and repeatable processes so that week in and week out, we can build our services in just a few minutes? It doesn't take hours of work. We have built and done the work so that it only takes us a few minutes each week to build that service so that we can go about the important other aspects of our ministries. And you can have more time to do the things that you need to do. We all know that in church production, it can be chaos. Things can come at you quick. But I'm here today to show you one thing that doesn't have to be difficult. And that is building your service in just a few minutes instead of it taking hours. The question I want to pose to you today is the right question. See, I think a lot of times people think, how can I work in ProPresenter? When the question you really should be asking is, how can ProPresenter work for you? And so over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, we are going to be diving into that exact question. Before we jump into any specifics of any specific features in ProPresenter or actually building our service, I want to start by going over what I think is more important than any of that. One of the most important things that you can do to make sure that building your service just takes a few minutes is you're actually going to have to do a good bit of preparation work. You're going to have to make sure that things in ProPresenter are organized in such a way that they're easy to find. You're going to have to do the work to make sure you have everything you need for week to week repeatable processes already built in ProPresenter so that you or someone on your team who's building the service has everything they need when they get ready to start building in ProPresenter. And so as the first part of this webinar, I want to take a look at a few things that you can do to make sure that it's ready to go when it's time to build in your presentation. So let's hop into ProPresenter. In ProPresenter, in the top left, you see your libraries and your playlists. Libraries are your content database. That's where all the presentations of any type, any form live inside of ProPresenter. And your playlist you can think of as your service order. That is the list of items that you're going to do in your service every single week. I actually organize my libraries. I have 3 different libraries that I use week to week. I have a songs library that you can see here that lists all of the songs that I use in ProPresenter. I have a sermons library. This is where I would keep a historical record of all the sermons that we've done at my church. And then finally, I just have an other presentations library. This is where I drop things like announcement loops, a countdown presentation. I would drop a prayer moment in here. I would drop liturgical things in here. I would drop one-off presentations that I do for a funeral or a wedding or a graduation, something that's happening in my worship area. I would drop into this other presentations library. Now, I will state the obvious. I built this copy of ProPresenter for this webinar, so this is not necessarily all of my data. That's why you only see a couple of presentations in each of those libraries. But I make sure to keep my libraries organized. I go through probably once a month, go through my songs library, make sure that no other presentations or sermons have gotten mixed up in there. I do the same thing in sermons and other presentations. I like to keep my libraries neat and tidy. Now, as we move down to the playlist, you'll see here that I just have a couple of playlists here. I have one called Sunday Worship and I have one called August 16th. I have that because of something we're going to do later in the webinar today. But really in my church, I actually just keep the Sunday Worship playlist. Every single week, I take that Sunday Worship playlist and I actually change out the content inside of that playlist instead of building from scratch each and every week. I do understand that many of you are going to want to have a historical record of all the playlists that you've ever done. And that's great. We understand that need. I would say my suggestion to you would be to keep just a month or two of your playlist in there. Maybe you can keep Easter or Christmas from the year before as well, but just keep a month or two at the very most. The more things you have in ProPresenter, the more things it's going to have to index when it launches the software, and the better performance you're going to get from it, the cleaner you keep these things. Also, more importantly, it's going to make it so much easier for your volunteers to work in and week out. So I make sure that I keep my libraries and my playlist very organized. Once we move down, we go to the media bin. I don't see my media bin here. So all I'm going to do is hit this media button in the toolbar, and that's going to open my media bin. And over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see two sections of the media bin. Up top, we have Pro Content, which we're going to come back to in just a second. But for the sake of cleanliness and making sure we can move around it easily, I'm going to click this little arrow right here to collapse the Pro Content section so that I can just see my media bin playlist. In my media bin playlist, I like to keep this very organized as well. I'm not going to prescribe to you exactly how to keep that organized for you. Whatever works for you is what's going to work. But here's how I do it. I start off with a sermon graphics playlist. My media bin playlist that I come to first is my sermon graphics. I keep the title and the note slide from my most recent sermon series, as well as the previous sermon series. I keep that right here. Sometimes I keep more as well as we're getting ready for future sermon series. I can go ahead and drop those in here so that they're ready to go when the time comes. But I keep my sermon graphics in their own media bin playlist. Next up, I have a playlist for my announcement items. Now, what I've done is I actually have a folder on my documents, where somebody can go in, anybody can go into the church computer and drop in announcement slides to the documents folder. Now, when they do that, they don't have to use ProPresenter. They don't have to know how to use ProPresenter. They don't even have to know what ProPresenter is. They just know that they need to come to my computer and drop their announcement slides into my documents folder. Now, a church I worked at previously, we had Mac screen sharing set up all over the church. And so the communications administrative assistant would actually log in to the ProPresenter computer, go to the documents folder, drop any slides in there. Then what would happen, because this is a smart playlist, is when I would open ProPresenter, this would already be populated with the new announcement slides. So a smart playlist is a great way to get your announcement slides into ProPresenter. You could also just have a normal media bin playlist that you manually drag and drop things into ProPresenter as well. It's completely up to you. And then I organize my Pro Content, my media backgrounds, by a few different categories. I have fast abstract, slow abstract, as well as nature. And then I have a playlist just for countdowns and obviously for video inputs as well if you're streaming through ProPresenter. But that's how I make sure to keep my media bin organized. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention something that can make your life a whole lot easier, and that is Pro Content. Pro Content is a media subscription service right through Renewed Vision. There's a lot of media subscription services out there, but what makes Pro Content different? What makes Pro Content the best, in my opinion, my very biased but very true opinion, is that Pro Content lives inside a ProPresenter. It is the only media subscription service where you can download directly into ProPresenter. You can actually download directly onto a slide, which I will show you in a little bit as we build a service. It's just $199 a year plus a $99 sign up fee, but it is an invaluable asset to your church. It's actually an invaluable asset even beyond motion backgrounds. We have sermon graphics. We have announcement slides, all of which you're going to see today in my copy of ProPresenter as I work. So Pro Content has the ability to make it even easier for you to work inside of ProPresenter because it works right inside of ProPresenter. The next thing I want to talk about is themes. So I'm going to go ahead and close the media bin by clicking the media button again, and I'm going to open the theme button in the toolbar. You'll see here it opens to the most recent theme that I use, but I'm going to click the back button to go back, and you'll see that I just have 3 themes set up inside of ProPresenter. Nice and easy. Now, I'll be honest with you and say that themes is the one area that I struggle the most with keeping cleaned up. Themes are what I like to pile up, what I like to get super disorganized, but what I have found is that keeping them cleaned up really works well for me. It makes sure that we're only using the correct theme. So when you no longer need a theme, all you have to do is come down to the bottom. You see the recent ones on top and then all on the bottom. Right click on the version on the bottom and click delete theme. That is how you clean up your themes and get rid of it out of the software entirely. Right click on it, delete theme. I keep a theme for my lyric slides. I keep a theme for my current sermon series and either my previous or my next, depending on what time frame we're in and what I've already built. But I keep all of that here because it makes it way easier for me when I go to build my service. It makes it easier for me to grab something, work with it, get it done. I also make sure like my lyrics theme is labeled clearly. I have a just lyrics, a black lines, lower thirds lyrics, just lyrics, and lower thirds black lyrics. I keep all of those organized and named well so I know which one is which on the fly. I do the same with my sermon series where I have a point slide and a scripture slide. Again, keeping all of this organized is absolutely vital to ensuring that you can build your service in just a few minutes rather than it taking a long amount of time. And so now that we have looked at how you can keep things organized, we're going to move to what everybody came for here today, and that is how do we actually build our service quickly. As we continue on here, we're going to be looking at how do we import items into ProPresenter, and we're going to start with songs themselves. Songs are obviously a big part of every worship service, so I'm going to talk to you about the different ways that you can import them into ProPresenter, how you can work with them after you import them into ProPresenter, and how you can make those final touches. So when you open the search window in ProPresenter, which you can do either by clicking search in the top left of the ProPresenter window, which opens the search window. You can see I was searching for Firm Foundation, and you can then move this window around so that you can see it better. You can also use Command F if you're on Mac, Control F if you're on Windows to open that search window. Once it's open, you're going to see a few different icons in the search window. First, you're going to see that ProPresenter icon. This means you are searching your ProPresenter libraries, all of your ProPresenter libraries. You'll see here on the right that it actually lists which library each item is in. That way, if you're searching for something that maybe shares a name between a song with maybe a sermon series, like the song Because He Lives, and you had a sermon series named Because He Lives, when you search for that, you'll see which one is actually a song, which one is actually another presentation or a sermon presentation. That's why I make sure to keep mine organized that way. But you see the ProPresenter icon where you're searching inside of your library. You also see the song select icon here. I am logged into our Song Select account here at Renewed Vision. So I'm able to search Song Select and download songs from Song Select directly into ProPresenter. We'll show you that in just a second. And finally, you have the Multitracks icon here on the right. Multitracks.com has a great library of songs. They've actually gone ahead and broken up their songs into 1, 2, and 4 line templates so that when you import it into ProPresenter, it's already phrased correctly. The slides are already broken up in 3 good ways that you can choose between, and those chords are actually already included in the song data. So you can put it on a stage screen, as I believe Amanda talked about in the last webinar when she talked about stage screens. But those are the 3 ways that you can search inside of the software. So with that, let's actually search for some songs and get them in here. Now, the 4 songs I'm about to download for you, some of them are going to be in ProPresenter already. Like I said, this is some songs that I pulled in from another instance of ProPresenter, so they're probably going to be there, but I want to show you how they show up when you search for them in both Song Select and Multitrack. So in Song Select, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search for Gratitude by Brandon Lake. So I type in Gratitude, I hit enter, and I see it populating in Multitrack. So I'll click back to Song Select. Sorry, that took just a second. But in Gratitude, I see it right here. I see the Brandon Lake version. So I'm going to click on it. You can see a quick little preview over here to the right that shows you the name, the writers, as well as a CCLI number in the top right-hand corner there. Fun fact, if you're not entirely sure which version of the song it is from the search, one thing you can do is if your church uses Planning Center or some other planning software where they're actually linking to a specific song, the CCLI number or the multi-tracks ID number is going to show in Planning Center or another service. So you can actually grab that number and search that in the song select library, and it'll pull up the exact version you are looking for. But we see this preview. This is exactly what I want. This is the version I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click import. I want it to be by line break. I want 2 lines per slide. So that's what this means right here. And I want it to be 1920 by 1080. That's the size of my TVs. And the theme that I want it to use is actually, I want it to do a black lines theme. I'm thinking of using a pretty bright background with gratitude. So I know I'm going to want those black lines behind it. So I'll go ahead and choose that. I know I want it in my songs library, and I want it in the Sunday worship playlist because that is the playlist that I am working in. So once I see all that, I'm going to go ahead and click import. The file already exists. Like I said, it's already in there. We're going to create a new version of it. And there it is showing up in our playlist, as you can see here, but it's not in the right area. So actually what I'm going to do is drag that up to worship set and drop it because it's what we're kicking off the service with. I look at this. It looks pretty good. There are some things that I don't like. So I'm going to really quickly fix that in just a couple minutes after we import our other songs. But I went ahead and looked at this. It looks pretty good. It looks like it's phrased pretty well. It looks like we did a pretty good job on this song select import. So up next, we have Holy Forever by Chris Tomlin. I'm going to hit Command F again. This time I'm going to use multi-tracks. So I'm going to search for Holy Forever. There's the version I want. And so I'm going to go ahead and click import like I did before. The presentation name already exists. So we're going to say 2. I'm going to put on the end of that just to change it. With the multi-tracks import, you see a few different options. Like I said, there's more options with multi-tracks. So you can choose for lyrics and chords to come in. You can change the key to whatever key you want on import. That affects the chords as they're coming in. You can change the key later, of course, but this is just the key you're bringing in at the beginning. Again, I choose the theme. I want to go back to just lyrics. 1920 by 1080 is right. The name's right. Songs and Sunday worship. So I'm going to go ahead and import it. And there it is, already in my playlist. I'm going to drag it up to where it's going to go in the service and take a quick look. It looks all right. Only a couple things that I need to change. So that's pretty good. Up next, we have Build My Life. So I'm going to do the same thing in multi-tracks. I'm going to choose Build My Life by Pat Barrett. I'm going to import it. I'm going to change the key to B flat. Actually, on this song, I really want just 1 line per slide. So I'm going to change it to 1. The lyrics are good. I don't want to change the theme of the lyrics. The size of the screen's good. His name's good. All of that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and import it. And there it is. And so that works out well. Finally, I'm going to do King of Kings by Hillsong Worship. But let's say you don't have song select. You don't have multi-tracks. How do you get lyrics? Well, an easy way to do that would just be to come in here. I'm going to create a new tab. I'm going to search King of Kings by Hillsong Worship lyrics. And there they are, populated right there in Google. You obviously need to have the licensing to be able to show lyrics on your screen, but maybe you don't have the exact subscription to Song Select or multi-tracks in order to get the lyrics. So I've copied them to my clipboard by right click and copy. Now I'm going to go into ProPresenter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Import, and then Text from Clipboard. This is going to take that text I just copied from the internet and actually import it directly into ProPresenter. Same thing as Song Select import, line break, 2 lines, 1920 by 1080. The theme's right. I want it to go to songs and the Sunday worship playlist. And now I'm going to hit import. Well, that imported, I see all the things, but one thing I do notice is that the name is not correct. The name of this presentation is actually not correct. So what do I do? Well, I know the name is In the Darkness, so I'm going to go back to the songs library. I'm going to find where it named it In the Darkness, and I'm going to right click on that presentation, and I'm just going to go to rename, and I'm going to type in King of Kings, enter. And another presentation already exists. So what we're going to do is go King of Kings 2. And now it's labeled the right thing. Go back to the Sunday worship playlist. I see it labeled the right thing down there in the bottom where it's going to go in the service. So that is how you import from Song Select, Multitracks, and directly from the internet. Now, once they're in, you're going to want to clean these up. As I look at Gratitude, I see some places where the text doesn't look very uniform. You probably have a style that you follow at your church and how exactly you want slides to look. The easiest way to get slides to look uniform and look the way you want to look is to use the reflow editor inside of ProPresenter. You can access the reflow editor by clicking reflow in the middle, in the toolbar. You can use Control R on a Mac to open it directly. That's what I just did to get it here. The reflow editor is one of my favorite features in ProPresenter. It's something that I was taught all the way back in about 13 years ago by somebody when I was working in a parachurch ministry. And it's a feature that I've carried on the last 13, 14 years since I learned it. And what's really cool in this version of ProPresenter is that I can see my lyrics over here on the left. I can see all of them lined up. It's in the master arrangement. We'll talk about arrangements in a few minutes, but it's in the master arrangement. So I just see one copy of each slide. That makes it easier for me to edit on the fly. And on the right, I actually see a preview of each of the slides. I see how the text is going to look. So for instance, I see right here on slide number 3, I see that I don't love how that's divided up, but when I look at it, really, I see that the phrasing is correct. So I'm going to leave that one as is, but I go to slide 5. We have one word on that last line. I am not going to stand for that. And so I throw up my hands and praise you. I'm going to go ahead and put a line break on again and again. So that looks better to me and how I want it to look. Also, I'm going to look right here at slide 7. And I'm actually going to divide up that first line so that now it's evenly split between those 4 lines, and do the same thing there on slide 10. Going to go ahead and split up that line. That looks good. And go ahead and split this up and then split up this last one. And now all my slides look great. They're uniform. They're exactly how I want them to look. The only thing that's left is I don't have a background on this slide. Now, I mentioned that I want to show a bright background on this slide. I want it to be bright, and I want it to maybe be something even from nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a motion pack that I like, and I'm going to show you how you can put that directly into ProPresenter. So I'm going to go to this. I think I'm going to go to Vivid Wave. And I'm going to find something a little brighter. I like this pink one right here, and I'm going to go ahead and drag that before the first slide. And it's going to ask me where I want to download it. Remember, I have mine organized, so I'm going to go ahead and choose Fast Abstract. And I want it to download in HD. That's 1080. We also have 4K, triple wide, and double wide. And I'm going to click download. Now that's downloading to my media bin. Into my Fast Abstract playlist. You see it here, but it also went ahead and dropped into Gratitude. And now Gratitude is ready to go. Now that took all about 30 seconds for one song to be imported, fixed, and have a media item added to it. Why was that the case? Because I had done the work beforehand to make sure that I had a theme set up, to make sure my media is organized. Maybe I was going to go ahead and use something I already had. That would have gone even faster. But then when I did it, I had a system and a process that I used to make that work as fast as it possibly could. Now, the one thing I'll say when I look at Gratitude is it's not exactly arranged the way that we're going to sing it. So the last thing I need to do is go to the arrangements button. That's right here in the presentation toolbar. And I'm in the master arrangement now, but I need to create a new arrangement. And I'm going to name this Sunday Worship. Okay. And it goes ahead and defaults to the master arrangement. I know that we're going to do verse 1, verse 2, and then we're going to do the chorus after verse 3. We're going to actually do that twice. We're going to do the bridge 3 times, and then we're going to do the chorus at the end. I don't know exactly the order this song goes normally, but that's the order we're going to go with for the purposes of this. And now it's already arranged in that way. I can go back to the master arrangement to just see a few slides But then obviously we want to be in Sunday worship to actually trigger the presentation. So that is how you import songs into ProPresenter. That is how you go ahead and get them in the playlist, get them cleaned up, and get them organized. In just a few minutes, we're going to do that speed run. We're going to do a run where I go ahead and import everything for one service in one go so that you can see just how fast you can do it. So I'm not going to go ahead and clean up those other songs. Instead, we're going to go ahead and move on and talk about sermon slides. Now, before we talk fully about sermons, I want to tell you something about the workflow we're about to do. This workflow is not going to work necessarily for everybody. And in fact, some of the things I may say here on the prep part of this is aspirational for your church. But what I want you to hear is the heart behind this. I want to make this as easy and repeatable for you week in and week out. So I want to show you how I've made that happen. See, I worked at churches for a long time, and one of the most frustrating things to me was building sermon slides. As many of you know, sermon slides sometimes come at the last minute. Maybe you don't get them until Friday afternoon. Maybe you don't get them until Sunday night or Sunday morning or Saturday night. Right before the service, you get the sermon slides and you got to get them in quickly. That was always frustrating to me because I am a perfectionist and I like for things to look a certain way and look good every time. So I had to come up with a system. I had to come up with a process that was going to make it look good every time, but not take a whole bunch of time when I was building it. And so the first thing you're going to want to do when trying to build a system to build your sermon slides a lot quicker is you got to get your pastor on board. Now, I understand that may not always be easy. I understand that may not always be just one person. Maybe there's multiple people preaching at your church. But generally speaking, you need to get the main person who is preaching at your church on board with this idea. I had a pastor that I worked for several years. I'm actually standing at the pulpit that he preaches from every week. Give a shout out to Favor City Church here in Henderson, Nevada, letting us use their beautiful facility today to shoot this webinar. But that pastor, he gave me his sermon slides in the most organized way that I had ever received them. See, he would give me his complete sermon notes. The things that he wanted on screen as a sermon point would be blue. The scripture that he wanted on screen would be red. And then anything that was green is an illustration that might need a picture or something else to go on the screen, something I would need to go look up and find, or that he had already sent me in a text message. But he would send me these very organized sermon notes. But what I started to do was I started to make a copy of the Google Doc he sent me. I would save a copy of the Google Doc, and then I would go through and I would actually delete everything that I didn't need. I would delete all the black text. I would delete all the green text and just type in what needed to be on the slide. A lot of times there was no green text. That was very rare. And then I would actually take the scripture and I would delete the actual scripture and just leave the reference there because I'm going to pull that in from ProPresenter directly. I'm not going to worry about copying and pasting that from the notes. And so I would do all of that. And that made building the sermon so much faster. But what makes it even faster than that is going ahead and being prepared with your theme slides. Remember what I said near the beginning of this webinar. Keeping your themes neat and organized is the key to making things look the same, making the things look good every single time. And so you can see here in my themes that I have 2 sermon series ready to go. 2 sermon series that already have a point slide designed and already have a scripture slide designed. And so that makes it a lot faster as I build sermon notes. So what does that actually look like? Well, let me show you a Google Doc. Now, I had changed my process up a little bit over the years. And as I've moved on to different churches, there's not as many illustrations or anything like that. So I actually use green to just denote a title slide. I go ahead and put in where the title slides need to be based on what I'm reading in their sermon notes. That's just an extra step that I take. You can obviously just put one title slide in and have your operator go back and click it whenever you want to, but I go ahead and drop mine where I know they're going to need them. And so you see here, I have the scripture references. I have the sermon points in blue. And now I can build this presentation very quickly. This is my shaped sermon series. So I'm going to go ahead and open ProPresenter. I'm going to go down here to my sermon. This is my shaped sermon series. What I do every week, let me go to another sermon real quick. In my Truth and Love sermon series, you can see here that I have all of these slides already designed. I already have them in here ready to go. But I really just need this slide because I don't save my sermons week to week. Now you could go in here and duplicate the presentation. So now you have another one, or you could just use the same one. That's what I'm going to do. Oops, sorry. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to right click on that and delete. Then I'm going to go back to the main one and I'm going to delete everything that is not that 1 point slide. So now I just have this looking just like shaped looks. I'm going to do that because later on in the day, I'm going to undo this because later on in the day when we do our speed run, I'm going to show you how to do that quick. But here in the Shape Sermon series, I'm going to go ahead and open the editor and I'm going to look at my sermon notes. Now in my sermon notes, the first thing I need is a scripture, Esther 5:1-3. Now, typically what I like to do is do this on a big monitor and I like to have ProPresenter and the browser window open side by side so that I can work in them at the same time. But I'm just here on my laptop screen today, so bear with me. So Esther 5:1-3 is first. So I'm going to go to the Bible section. I'm going to search up Esther 5:1-3. And you see here that it did a few things. Number one, it pulled up the verses, 1 verse per slide. That's the way I like it. It shows the reference at the bottom for each of those slides. But maybe you prefer something different. If you prefer something different, good news. We have some options for you. In the options window inside the Bible window, you have a few different slide options. You can choose to show verse numbers. Or not to show verse numbers. I don't show them because I do 1 verse per slide. I break on new verse, again, 1 verse per slide. You can display the translation if you'd like, preserve the font color so that Jesus's words are in red. And then you can choose how you want your verse references to show. I want the verse references option is actually where it shows, say, Esther 5:1 on the first slide, Esther 5:2 on the second slide, and Esther 5:3 on the third slide. Passage each would actually show Esther 5:1-3 on all 3 of the slides. Passage last would show Esther 5:1-3 on the last slide, or you could choose to have no reference. In the theme button here, you can choose which theme you're looking up scripture with. So I'm obviously in my shape series, so I'm going to use the scripture slide for that. And then you can choose which import library should you save the presentations to go into. I actually want it to go in other presentations, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. And now I have Esther 5:1-3. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those. So I'm going to hit Command A, copy, and then I'm going to go right here, drop it there. Esther 5:1-3. Next up, I got Esther 5:14 and 7:1-10. So I'm just going to real quickly go 5:14, copy, paste, and 7:1-10. So I'm going to say 7:1-10, and then copy and paste. All right, so I got those first 3 sections in there really, really quickly. I'm going to go back to Google, and I see that I got sin exposed, which I know I already have. So then I'm going to say sin starts small, but grows quickly. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to editor, and this is kind of my trick. I just take this slide because it's already formatted exactly how I want, and I duplicate it. And then on the duplicated slide, I select the text and I go edit, paste and match style. And then it comes in looking exactly how I want it to look. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it because I know I have another point slide. It is sin blinds us. And so I'll go back to ProPresenter. And then since I already have my duplicated slide, I will go Option Shift Command V. That is the same thing, paste and match style. That's just the keyboard shortcut for it. That's Option Shift Command V on a Mac. So I've got sin blinds us. And then I'm going to show you something else I could do real quick. I'm going to take both of these at the same time. And I'm going to duplicate sin blinds us. And then I'm going to go right here. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to go ahead and delete the line between. And then I'm going to do a trick in the editor. You could go to Reflow Editor and do it there. But what I do is I actually use the same keyboard shortcut that exists in Reflow Editor. I actually apologize. I don't think I talked about that earlier, but it's just Option Return or Option Enter is what actually drops that slide break in there. So what I'm going to do is on my main editor, it works too. So I'm going to go Option Return. Now, the only thing that does not work is the media action does not carry over to this new slide. Now, the media action is a background, so it's going to be there. When you click on it, you can see here, I'll click Sin has been exposed. You see it up there. And Sin Demands Wrath is also going to show the background. But obviously, you could just drag and drop the background onto that. Or I can actually go Theme, Shape Sermon Series, Point Slide, and drop it on there because the media action is included with my theme. Again, stay organized. It can go a lot faster. So you see how I get these sermon slides in here quickly. I make sure that they're organized in such a way that I can bring it in quickly. I go ahead and have my themes ready to go, and I keep one of my point slides each and every week so that I can just duplicate it, drop it in, and then I use the Bible function in ProPresenter so that I can build that quickly. In just a minute, when we do our speed run, I'm going to show you just how fast I can do that with a sermon series, a new sermon series that we're doing. And I'm excited to show you guys how fast that can go. But the last part of your playlist that you may need to adjust is your announcement loop. Now, I talked at the very beginning about how I keep one playlist and I just replace the items on it every week. One of the most important reasons that I do that is my announcement loop. I want to make sure that whatever announcements we showed in the loop last week are still there when I come back this week. I don't want to build from scratch, have to go find it in the library. I want it to already be there so that I can just use that presentation, adjust it for this week. And so I go to this announcement loop and I look at it. I just have, 6 slides here, nothing crazy. Just a welcome, a ways to give, a prayer slide, follow us on social media slide, a baptism slide, and a kids slide. But hey, this week, actually, we don't have kids ministry. So next week, we don't have kids ministry. So I don't want that slide to be looping. We decided we don't really want that slide to be looping this week. So I'm just going to go to it. Instead of deleting it, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to choose disable. Now, what disable does is when I click the slide before it, it's going to auto advance, but it's going to skip that kids slide and jump straight to the prayer slide as you just saw. But the pastor walked up. He changed his mind. He actually does want to show that slide. Easy enough. I'm going to right click on it, enable it. Now, when I click ways to give, 5 seconds is going to pass and it's going to auto advance straight to that kids slide. But hey, we actually have another change. Pastor walks up before service. We have the baptism Sunday service listed as August 16th here, but it's now actually August 23rd. So we need to change this graphic. 3 ways really that you can do that. You could use Reflow Editor for it. But in the main editor, I could come in here, double click on it. I could quickly change it to 23rd, change it back to the 16th. Or I could use Quick Edit. Quick Edit is a way to change like a typo, fix a typo, change the text on a slide real quick, just on the fly. So I'm going to right click on Baptism Sunday, Quick Edit. And then I'm going to look right here. It's kind of hard to see because it shows exactly how the text is. But I put my cursor after the 16, 2 deletes, type in 23, and then I'm just going to hit the red X. And hey, there it is, fixed, ready to go. Now, I was able to do that because what I did with this Baptism Sunday slide is I downloaded it from the Pro Content website. I dropped it into Photoshop, edited it to make it look like we want it to look for our church. But then the part that I knew was going to change month to month, quarter to quarter, whatever the case may be for baptisms, I actually built that inside of ProPresenter. I built that in the editor so that when the time came, I could just edit the date. I can now just change this to a September date. You see that how quickly you can edit it and change it. So be smart with how you design things. Don't design everything in Photoshop or Canva even. Design some parts of it in ProPresenter, the parts that you feel like you're going to need to edit week to week. So with that, we've done the long-winded part of talking about all of the elements of our service order. Now it's time for the speed run portion of this process. And for that, I want to go ahead and pull up the clock. And I'm going to reset the timer, reset the stopwatch. I'm going to go ahead and drag that over here. And I'm going to go ahead and push start on it. And then I'm going to get it behind and we'll look at it at the end. So ready, set, go. So the first thing we do when we start the speed run is I need to know what exactly we're doing in this service. So first up, we have the song Battle Belongs, then Living Hope and Waymaker. That's our first worship set. Then we're doing the sermon series Truth and Love. So we got to change that up. And then we're closing with Firm Foundation. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete the songs we previously imported. Boom, they're gone. We're also not doing this sermon. So boom, it's gone. All right, we got a clean slate. We're ready to go. So first up, we're going to go ahead and add our songs. First up, we have Battle Belongs. We're going to check the library for that first. We don't have that, so we're going to go to multi-tracks. We want the Phil Wickham version. We're going to import it. We want 2 lines per slide. Actually, I want 1 line per slide. We're doing it in B flat today. Songs and Sunday worship. Import. All right, next up, we have Living Hope. I'm going to again check the library for that one. Hey, we actually have that one. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to hit add to playlist, and there it is, ready to go. Up next, we have Waymaker. We don't have that one, so I'm going to go to multi-tracks again. We want the Passion version, so we're going to import that. We're doing that one in C. We want that one to go ahead and have black lines. We're going to get rid of this Live from Passion part of this. I want it Song, Sunday Worship, and import. So we have 2 songs in next, or 3 songs in. We have the 3 first ones, and then we have Firm Foundation. I believe I have this one in the library. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, add to playlist. Great. I have all 4 songs added to the playlist, and we are only at 1:42. So I'm going to go ahead and drag up the 3 songs that are at the beginning, drop them in the first part of the worship set, and then service closing is where it's supposed to be. Real quick, we got to clean these up. So we're going to go to reflow, slide 6. I want to clean up a little bit. And then slide 18. I want to clean up a little bit. And it looks like slide 45, slide 46. Is what I'm going to clean up there. We'll clean them up the same exact way. Now they are good to go. I don't have a graphic on there, so we're going to open the media bin. I'm going to look at fast abstracts, and I like this one a lot. So we're going to drag it up and drop it on that first slide. Battle Belongs is ready. Living Hope. We're going to open reflow. We're going to close the media bin so we have more space. I'm going to start at the top here. I'm going to look through. Because I use multi-tracks and because my theme is already designed, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to have to touch. And this looks like this song is already completely ready. Now I remember that's because I already had it in my library. But again, prep works. Prep works. That was already done. All right, we're going to move on to Waymaker. Well, hold on. Living Hope didn't have a background. So we're going to go real quick. I want it to be a little bit slower. I want it to be darker. So I'm going to go this orange gradient window thing. And then I see how it looks good there. And I'm going to go ahead and clear all. All right. And then I'm going to close my media bin again, go to Waymaker, reflow, and let's see how it looks. This one looks like it has a little more work that needs to be done. But because of how great reflow works, we can be done here in just a matter of minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep going. Waymaker, Miracle Worker, Light in the Darkness. That's who you are. You are here. In your heart, I worship you. We know anytime we see I worship you, that needs to be on 2 lines like that. I missed one. There we go. And then we have another one. And then another one. And then it looks like we get down to the bridge, and that bridge looks good. All right. So now we need to add a background to it. Again, I'm going to go ahead and add a new one because we know how fast that is already. I want some neon glow going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this purple one, and I'm going to drag it onto the first slide. It is a slower abstract and download. All right. And it's downloading. We don't have to wait on it to go to our last song, which is Firm Foundation, but it was already in our thing. So it should be actually pretty good. We'll just scroll through real quick. Yep. It looks good to go. So we're going to open the media bin, and we're going to go ahead and choose a slower abstract. We'll go, right here, with one of these chromisms ones, and drop it on there. And now we have media, and all of our slides are already reflowed. One thing we need to double check is the arrangements. So for Battle Belongs, let's go ahead and change this arrangement. One thing about multi-tracks is they actually have a full arrangement already built in. So I'm just going to go ahead and change these to full because we're doing them just like they are written. But again, you could obviously go in here and change the arrangement to your own by clicking New Arrangement. That's just not how we operate. So that's what makes it a little bit quicker for us. So we're able to go ahead and change all of that. But now we have our sermon. Now I know that I have the basic bones of my sermon already done. So I'm going to go ahead and take Truth and Love. I'm going to right click, add to Sunday worship. And then we'll take Truth and Love and drag it up here to the sermon. And then remember, I just want that one slide. So I'm going to go Command and then Command Shift click on the last slide. Everything selected but that one, and delete. So now I have the bare bones. I'm going to open this and go to my Love One Another. And I've got to format this real quick to be what I want it to be. So real quick, I'm going to go through and just delete all the scripture. I'm doing this quickly by holding the Command key to get rid of the actual words and just leave the references. I don't like to do it all at once because what if I let go of the Command key? I just lost my work. So I do about half and half. I do about 4 or 5 to split it up. All right. And now I've got it kind of designed quickly. So I know that my first slide is Love One Another. And I know that that's already what it says, Walk in Love. So we're going to edit and I'm going to select it. And then remember, I'm going to paste and match style. And then up next is a scripture, John 13:34 and Leviticus 19:18. So John 13:34. Oh, but that looks really weird, really funky. Oh, it's the shaped graphic. So I'm going to go into my options, change the theme to Walk in Love scripture. And you know what? I actually don't like that it's red. So I'm going to turn off preserve font color for this one. And I'm going to go ahead and copy it and paste it right there. Up next is Leviticus 19:18. So again, Bible, Leviticus 19:18. And then I'm actually going to hit Save As, Copy to Selected Presentation because I was already at the end of my presentation and that button just drops it at the end. So since it was going to drop it where I wanted it, I went ahead and used that. Up next, we have kind of a 2-line main point slide. So I'm going to real quickly go in here. I'm going to duplicate this slide. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there. It does not look great. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to put that on the left. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the font size down until I can get Love As You Love Yourself on one line. And hey, that looks exactly how I want it, but it's not where I want it. So I'm going to take that slide and I'm going to drag it down here below Leviticus. Go back to show. Boom. Ready to go. We have John 15:9, A and then B. So I'm just real quickly, I'm going to go John 15:9, and then I'm going to copy to select a presentation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the editor and I'm actually going to go down and duplicate that slide because I know what he really wants because I'm the one that wrote this, is I want this to take Abide in My Love off. And I want 15A to have the ... So I'm going to real quickly do that. And then I'm just going to leave it as is for this part because that's really what he meant there was he wanted to just show the first part and then have the Abide in My Love part pop up. So I got 15:9. So I got 2 John 1:6. So I'm going to do this. 2 John 1:6. And then I'm going to copy that to select a presentation. And then I know that we obey because we love is the next point. So we'll go in here, we'll edit, we'll duplicate Love One Another because we know it's the way we want it to look. And then there we go. And then we drag that to, oops, sorry. And then I'm just going to go in here and do it because it works a little bit better. We obey because we love, drop it there. And then we'll go back. And we see John 14:15, 1 John 1:3. So John 14:15. And then I add it. And then I forgot what we needed. 1 John 5:3. Same thing. Copy to selected presentation. And then John 13:34 to 35 is our last one. to 35. That looks good. Copy to selected presentation, and bam, sermon is done. So I'm going to copy this title slide. I'm going to drop it there. I'm actually going to remove the macro, which we'll talk about macros in the Q&A here in just a second, from it. That way it doesn't restart the timer, but my sermon is done. Now I head to my announcement loop. Everything actually looks good there. Just for fun, we'll change this back to August 16th because they changed their mind again. And we are done. In 10 minutes and 27 seconds, we are done with our speed run, and our service is ready to go in just under 11 minutes. Think of how much time you can save if you do all the work ahead of time. All the prep work ahead of time that you can do saves you more and more time. And that is how you build your service in minutes, not hours. Now, I know I've covered a lot, and I'm actually about to answer about 3 of your questions. But before I do, I just want to make it clear. I've talked fast. I've talked about a lot. And I know one thing that we hear from you many times in support is that our videos go so fast that you can't keep up. The thing I tell people when they tell me that is, yes, there's a lot of information, and we want to try to keep it in the shortest amount of time frame that we can. But what we encourage you to do is take this recording of this webinar. We're going to send it out after it's over. Go find the section that's most interesting to you, the section that you want to learn, and just go watch that again and again and again until you get it. And then go find the associated tutorial video that exists on our library and watch that again and again and again. Slow it down. You can change the playback speed on YouTube to be a little bit slower. Sometimes I know my voice might need that because I talk a little bit fast. But thank you so much for joining us today for this portion of the webinar. Real quick, let's shift gears to a few questions you had for us. Now, we received a litany of questions of all over the board, but we had some common themes that I wanted to address in this time. Now, the first question that came in asked, how do I easily add backgrounds to all scripture slides instead of having to change each one separately? Well, we talked about this in a little bit of kind of surface level talk earlier in the webinar, but to get more specific, you can create a theme. Let's just create a new one. Let's call it scripture. And then let's go ahead and just design this text box real quick to be how we want it to go. We want our text to be left adjusted, top adjusted. We want this text box to be about this big. Let's keep it Helvetica, but let's bump it to about 65 font size. And that's great for our scripture. So we're going to edit this and name it scripture. And then I'm actually going to copy and paste that text box, but make it a lot smaller. And I'm going to put the reference at the bottom down here. And so I'm going to drag that below that, and I'm going to name that reference. So now I actually have that named correctly. So I have my theme. So if I went to the Bible window right now and I chose this, it would work for all of my slides. But the question was, how do I get an image changed on this all at once? You can do that easily by going right here, clicking this plus button. I'm going to change it to our Truth and Love background. Choose the file on your computer that you want. I know that it's this one. Yep, looks great. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in, and now it's done. So if you wanted to change it all at once and just wanted to change a theme, you could go into one of your themes, edit it. Then you could actually hit this little trash can to delete the image, and then click the plus button to add the new image. And then that would change it for all newly created slides. To change it on slides that are already created, all you'd have to do is go in, select the slides, use the command button to select many at the same time, right click on it, hover on themes, and then choose the theme you want it to show there. And that is how you would easily add and change backgrounds to scripture slides all at once. The next question comes from several of you asking about macros. How do I create a macro? Well, first of all, let's talk about what a macro is. A macro is one single action that contains more than one or more actions as part of that macro. So at the start of my sermon, I want to change my stage layout to be specific to what the speaker wants to see. And I also want to start a timer, but I don't want to have two different actions on the slide. So I can create a macro and drop two actions onto that macro. You do that from the macros window. Mine's already pulled up over here under the preview window. You've got the macros button here. You can click it. And then I've got a plus button right here. I'm going to call this one start of service countdown. All right. And I've got that set up. So now what I'm going to do is add the actions that I want to it. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say add action. I want a timer to pop up. I don't have it created yet. So I'm going to add a timer real quick. It's called start of service. We'll leave it at 0 because it doesn't really matter. We'll go in here to start a service, add action, timer, start of service. And then I want it to be a set configuration, which means just for this macro, I want it to do this. So I want it to be a 10-minute duration. And I want it to be a countdown timer. I don't want to allow overrun because when it hits 0, we should be starting the service. I'm actually going to change that to 5 minutes. And then I want that to show on my stage screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm going to add an action, stage. And then I'm going to change that to the announcements layout that I have created already. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this macro that's already on it because I don't want that one. And I'm going to add this start of service countdown to it. And now when I click that, you can see that my stage screen has changed. I have the time running there, but I don't have the timer. So I can really quickly fix that by adding that timer to show there. And now I got to link it real quick. We'll link that to the start of service timer. And now it will be showing, should be showing when I start that. I think it's because I actually edited the wrong thing. I did. So we're going to just copy and paste that real quick. And I'll drop that over there. We'll move the time over here. We'll change that from system clock to instead be the start of service timer. And now we should be rolling. So we see that counting down as the actual countdown is rolling on the audience screen, and I have created my macro. You can add any number of actions to that macro. You can edit those actions. In fact, I wanted to address another question really quickly, and that is there a way to edit stage actions on multiple slides at one time without having to remove all stage actions and then reapplying them? The answer to that question is no, except if you use a macro. What you'll notice in my macros window is that I actually have two macros that just have a stage layout action on them. Now, why did I just put one action on those macros? I did it for this exact purpose. In fact, I did it before this question was asked. I did it because I might want to change which stage layout I'm using for songs, but I don't want to have to go back and change every song that has my stage action on it. So all I have to do is go right here. I can edit action stage, and then I can just change which one I want to be using. Now, I only have one songs one, so I'm not going to change it and mess it up, but you could change it right here. And once it's changed, every slide that has that macro now is going to trigger this new stage layout. So that is how to create a macro, edit a macro, and then how to use macros to easily change something on multiple slides all at once. I would encourage using macros to speed things up for you. Now, the last question that I want to talk about today has to do with something all of us can relate to, and that is training volunteers. That question asks simply, what is the best way to give basic training to volunteers? How can I train my volunteers in the basic functions of ProPresenters? Well, our friends in the Pro Content department have been working hard on new tutorial series. And live in our Renewed Vision YouTube channel now is a playlist called the Intro Series. And this playlist actually starts with a video called 5 Essential Tools for Volunteers. So what I would encourage you is, as your volunteers are learning ProPresenter, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Send them to our YouTube page. Send them to this playlist specifically. Tell them to start with the 5 Essential Tools for Volunteers video. Then they can watch the other 9 videos that are in this series. They're all fairly short, about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes each for some of the longer ones, but it's a short watch. And they'll learn a lot during that. And then the things they want to learn more about, they can go find the more advanced tutorials on our page to learn more about them. Beyond that, what I would encourage you with is on our website, in every single page, there's a little Renewed Vision icon in the bottom right-hand corner. That is our live chat bot. We have invested heavily in the use of an AI agent on our website. I know there's some hesitancy to AI, but what I want to tell you today is that chatbot is there for two primary reasons. Number one, to help educate you about ProPresenter in a quick and efficient manner. You don't have to wait until a human's available. You don't have to wait until a scheduled call. You can simply head to that page, click the chatbot, and ask how to do something in ProPresenter. The AI agent has been trained for over a year and a half now. It's doing an amazing job at answering all of the education questions that come in. So send your volunteers there. Have them ask whatever questions they need. The second reason that agent is there is to gather information about technical issues when they come in. When your ProPresenter is not working, we want to know as much information on the front end so that our human agent can jump in with you quickly and get it solved as fast as possible. So our AI agent does some work on the front end. They gather some system reports from you. They gather more information about what is actually happening before they pass you to a human. But if you wish to speak to a human, even for education, just simply ask the AI agent to put you through to a human. But when training volunteers, I want to go back to that. Number one, send them to our YouTube page. Have them watch the tutorials. Encourage them to watch them multiple times if they're not getting it. And then if they have more questions, head to support.renewedvision.com. Start a chat with our AI agent and eventually get to a human that we could be happy to answer your question as well. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar entitled Building Your Service in Minutes, Not Hours. We hope this has been valuable and impactful to your team, and we hope to see you on the next webinar as well. This recording will be sent out, and our support team is waiting and willing to receive any questions you might have as this webinar concludes. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.